GameCast Continuum.
Welcome everybody to GameCast Continuum. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in here live on Beam, watching us on YouTube, or listening on Podbean or iTunes. We are your hosts, DC Skater Shane and
Mr. Bojangles, 1984.
But this week also we have a special guest host.
Drake Dangerson.
Thrilling.
Excellent intro, Drake. Excellent. Welcome to the show,
you're welcome. Drake Dangerson, you're welcome.
There we go. GameCast Continuum is a gaming podcast where we randomly select some of the greatest games from past and present and then go into their history into detail. But before we get into all that, we need to take care of a little bit of housekeeping. We do this podcast live on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern over at beam.pro/GameCastContinuum. The best way to keep up to date with the cast is to follow us on Twitter at GCContinuum. Because we will tweet out what this week's episode is going to be and let you know if there's going to be any scheduling changes. But moving forward, this week we got chosen Mafia II. Take it away.
Mafia 2.
Hey, this is you fucking Mafia 2.
Well, Mafia 2, the sequel. Imagine that.
Yeah, Return of the Mafia.
Return of the Mafia.
Yeah, I think that's what they called it.
Developed by one of 2K's branches, 2K Czech, previously known as Illusion Softworks. Published by 2K Games, of course. The studio mainly focuses on first-person shooters, third-person shooters, and is known for the Mafia series as well. Preliminary work for the game began back in 2004. Script was actually made in 2003, though, so they held on to the script for a little while and then, started working on building the game from there. And believe it or not, the game was actually intended to be released on the older consoles at the time, the PS2 and the original Xbox. But they made the decision to move to the newer consoles in 2005 because they were having some issues with the in-game engine, which... as we'll go over later in the cast here, it's a good thing they dropped those older consoles because they were already having issues as it was. But the official reveal of the game came out August of 2007 at the Leipzig Games Convention in Germany. I don't know if I'm even saying that right. Leipzig.
Yeah, I think it's Leipzig.
Or Leip. I don't know. But at any rate...
Leipzig.
Leipzig. Or... Lipstick. I don't know. But anyway, in April of 2009, they were doing an interview with GameSpot, and that's where we got our first taste of gameplay footage for the game. At that point, the gameplay was mainly just showing them driving around, a little bit of gunplay, and showing off some of the physics that the engine could do.
Then actually, too, back in 2010... Sheridan Fisher, who was the face of Playboy, their swimsuit edition, became the official ambassador of the game. And they actually decided to include 50 of the vintage Playboy covers and centerfolds as collectibles. So
I do remember picking those up.
Ooh, naughty.
I don't remember shit about this game.
That's one of the only things I remember is you picked up covers of Playboy magazines.
Could you peek through them?
Could have been just a game made about me in like 9th grade.
What do you remember about the game? Nudie magazines.
Yeah, there we go.
Nudie magazines, yes.
Nudie magazines, the game.
I would play that.
Who wouldn't play that? You'd have to change the rating a bit, but hey.
Yeah, you kind of already have those games already, so. This is already a GTA clone. Why not make it a Leisure Suit Larry clone too?
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that game, mind you.
Yeah.
Well.
Anyway.
But it ended up coming out in 2010 for PS3, Xbox 360, and Windows, which kind of makes sense, because they were having issues even on those versions. But I think they did the smart thing by putting it out on the newer generation of consoles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's really not a lot about this game personally that I remember, but they, you know, from playing it, I mean, I played it a little bit and it wasn't that great. Unfortunately, you know, nothing really memorable. I don't know about you guys, but
yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you know, as you kind of said though, too, it is kind of a GTA clone, but they did, and a lot of the open world games are like that, unfortunately, anymore. There's really not a lot you can do to be different.
Yeah, you just got to be good.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, that's very true. Excuse me, but getting into the open world game space is kind of difficult when there's games like GTA out there and stuff, but anyway.
I mean, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, is it me?
Take it away.
All right. Well, some of the general game info here is they introduced a new cover mechanic that was not in the original Mafia game. Just, you know, kind of one of those things where must have made that game really hard to play because
Without
can't
cover.
get cover. Yeah, you just like
Yeah.
kind of running around, like standing behind cars as opposed to, you know, you kind of like creep on things now. You can creep around corners for actual stealth missions, which is actually a nice mechanic when games add things like that. Puts a little more like ketchup and mustard on the hot dog as opposed to just having a plain hot dog. It had over 50 different vehicles ranging from sports cars and station wagons, woot woot, to buses and tractor trailers. Yeah, I know. I want that station wagon.
Who doesn't?
Yeah,
Go run
screw
over
those
people
sports
on the-
cars. Give me the station wagon.
A station wagon with 4 kids so I can yell at them the whole time.
So real life simulator. Got it.
There we go. Hey, we're getting there. The radio stations gave the complete feel of the 40s and 50s by having a wide variety of music from that era available at your fingertips. I have no idea what the music was. Some of the 40s and 50s, well, at least the 50s had really good rock music, but like most of the 40s music that I know of starts like a...
Oh, it's not great. It's just your big band music. But
it's just a bunch of Benny Goodman and stuff.
I mean, it's kind of neat though that they did keep it authentic though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really gave you that feel as you're driving around in your station wagon, yelling at the kids, smacking them around a bit.
Yeah, I mean, in the same light, I mean, GTA does that as well. When you play a game that's supposed to be set in the 80s, you get 80s stations on your radio, you know, so.
Vice City.
Yes.
Oh.
The music was so good.
That was great.
Oh. Man, I really. All right, good memories. Originally the game was supposed to have 22 chapters and take place over the course of 10 years in Vito's life. Vito being the main character, if we haven't already established that. However, in the final version, it was cut down to 15 chapters and only tells the story of about 8 years of his life. I mean, they cut off 2 years. That's no big deal. I think like the missing 7 chapters.
That's a substantial amount of chapters for covering 2 years.
That's a few chapters. Hey, we're taking off a quarter of the game. But if you want the chapters, you're gonna, you know, pay up because we have DLCs. Woo, woo.
Buy the season pass, and you'll get all the other chapters that you're missing.
Yeah. Do you want the full game? Buy our season pass.
Which is pretty much everybody's freaking game model to this day now, unfortunately.
Yeah, gotta make money. Gotta pay them devs.
I think, honestly, every game is designed to have those DLCs. So, like, they start working on too much game. Like, they know they're not going to be able to finish the whole thing because they plan on having some of that as downloadable content in the future. Which, I mean, it kind of sucks because the games feel like they're getting slighted. The gamers feel like they're getting slighted and not getting the full product. But at the same time, if they put out a decent full game, quote-unquote full game for us to play to begin with, and then they come out with these DLCs that they were already intending as being downloadable content after the original game released, it it kind of makes sense for them to do it that way because it also allows them more revenue to come in and be able to work on other projects that they have coming up, But
Well, I mean, I was kind of being a smart ass about it, but I mean, this is also like real people working on real things. It's like if you're, these people have to get paid. It's not,
True.
You can complain about like the DLCs and everything, but if you're releasing like a full game with its DLCs for like, let's say $60, that may not be covering like the development staff, the people that are chosen to test it, the marketing, things like that.
Yep.
I mean, these places have to make money in order to make games. So
yeah, they are a business,
aside,
not
this stuff happens.
Yeah, it's not a gamer charity where they're just going to give us everything. So
yeah. And games like this, I mean, they have like 60 people working on them.
It's a smaller studio, so I mean, it makes sense. I mean, unfortunately.
Hey, it is what it is. We're not working the 24 hours. We're just bitching about DLC.
Yeah.
It had when it was released, it had 3 different difficulties. It had easy, which you take less damage, fast health regen, medium, which had moderate damage, moderate health, hard, basically the most similar stuff. But quick note, there was going to be a mode called extreme, which is kind of a lame thing to call it, and I'm glad they didn't release it for this game because the word extreme doesn't, wouldn't have really fit the actual motif of the game. It could have been like, they could have did like actors like Humphrey Bogart being the most difficult.
I envision that as you being able to get one shot by an enemy, but you don't get any health regen at all.
Yep.
That would
good
be
thing they
so
have a
brutal.
cover system.
Yeah.
Yeah, good thing for that new cover system. Mm-hmm.
Hide behind everything and just never pop out. It's fine.
And you just gotta hope a ninja doesn't come out of nowhere and start slicing and dicing you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, those 3 difficulties that you could choose from, and the voice acting was pretty good in the game too. Some of the notable voice actors. Did you have something to put in there?
No, I mean, the one thing I was going to say was, going into the voice acting,
Yeah.
a lot, when I was looking through the reviews, which we're going to hit later, that was one of the biggest things that they did touch on was that all the voice acting was excellent. Whether or not the game hit all the right spots, it's hard to say, but they said the voice acting was one of the high spots of it. And I mean,
Nice.
From looking through the list, I mean, you have a lot of bigger names in there too. So, I mean,
yeah,
it can really make or break. That's one of the things, as we've talked about on other episodes too, aside from the actual story, I mean, the voice acting can really make or break a game, I think.
You almost became a Jill sandwich.
It's terrible. I mean, you could play one of the best games out there, but if the voice acting sucks, and it pulls you out of the experience.
Yeah, it can completely break the immersion.
So bad it's good.
You could go that route too.
Yeah.
It's hard to find those though, because I mean, the game would also have to be designed in such a way where everything is just so terrible you just laugh at it the entire time.
Yeah. Or
I mean, those
like
games
the
do
technology
exist.
at the time was limiting.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah, that too. If it was just an older game, like we do cover some games. Some of the games we have on our list are like from the 1980s, so we'll certainly come across some of those, I'm sure.
Best voice acting ever.
Yeah. If you have Rick, is it Pascalone? I mean, that's how I want to pronounce that. Rick Pascalone, who played the main character Vito Scaletta, which I mean, Vito was also in the 3rd Mafia game that I wasn't aware of.
Spoiler alert.
Oh my gosh, the game's been out for so long. Anyway, Vito is not the main character in Mafia 3, though. He also played Giuseppe in Mafia 2, though. So Rick did both of those voices. He did some Transformers work in Robots in Disguise, and he was also, a voice actor for Halo 5. You got Mr. Michael Sorvino, who played Tony Angelo. Nolan North, which I didn't even pick up on that he was in this game.
He's in everything.
He's like in every game, though.
Much. Yeah.
But he played.
He's good, though.
He is really good. I mean, that's probably why everybody wants him. But yeah, he played Alberto Clemente in the Mafia 2. The one that he's probably most known for to Sony players, anyway, is Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series, and also He's our ghost in Destiny.
Version 2.
Ghost
Yeah,
V2.
version 2. No, North came in and kicked Dinklage in the balls and took over. There was also Mr. Troy Baker, who played civilians in Mafia 2. Wow, what a generic credit that
Beautiful
is.
role. Civilian 1.
But he
Role of
also
a
played
lifetime.
Joel. He did have one of the main roles in The Last of Us because he voiced Joel.
Yeah,
And
I'm
he also
playing that
was the
right
voice
now.
of such a good game. I haven't finished it yet. I'm so
Yeah.
Also, this week it's on
dissatisfied.
sale on PSN.
Well, I already have it, so this doesn't help me.
$7.99.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got it on the last sale. Yeah, I can't wait to play it some more. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah, evidently Mr. Baker played Batman in the Telltale series, those Batman games, and he played Sam Drake, the brother of Nathan Drake in Uncharted 4.
Game.
Yeah, I haven't played the fourth one. Anyway, then we had Curtis Armstrong, who also played some civilians. What the hell? And they gave these big names like such petty
gave 'em-
voiceovers.
yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
it's like, hey, can you come in for $5 and do this voiceover really quick?
Just
And say,
ramble like
oh no, hey, you
Could've been
son
like-
of a bitch.
Well, it could have been like Donald Gibb. I mean, all the thing he got credited for was playing an angry prisoner in Mafia
know.
2.
How the mighty have fallen. He was ogre in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, he was ogre
yeah.
in the Revenge of the Nerds, and then he becomes an angry prisoner in Mafia 2.
Yeah.
it.
Man.
It's kind of amazing though. Just some of the bigger. I mean, you have your typical voice actors, that you see in a lot of games, but then to bring in more of the, Hollywood people as well for such small roles is just like, Jesus.
Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You're wasting the talent, you know?
You're fucking wasting the talent. You're probably paying them a crap ton of money just to ramble on about, goddamn
Be like-
kids nowadays.
Secretary Morgan Freeman. What?
Oh God. Dead hooker.
That's nobody's favorite role.
No one likes
Ben
being a
Affleck, dead hooker.
That
You
might
don't say
actually
anything.
fit. I don't know.
You've got the credit. You're credited for it. You just have to lay there. It's fine.
Yeah. I hope the dead hooker's name's Martha.
Oh my god. He went
Oh,
there.
we'll mocap you as the dead hooker. Just lay. Oh, that's fucking. How do you know that name? Oh God. Anyways,
Yes.
moving forward though, we're gonna go a little bit into the story.
As
It's
we
very-
always do. Hell yeah.
But basically, you play as Vito, who immigrated to the U.S. from Sicily at the age of 3, and while in school, you meet a local delinquent. Go figure. And you guys become best friends. Great.
Aw.
And hey, you're hanging out with a delinquent. You get arrested and you go to jail because you fucked up when you're robbing somewhere.
Yeah, I actually watched that scene. They're like trying to steal jewels out of a storefront window on the street. Like,
Well,
what
people
the
are just
hell?
like, yeah.
But anyway.
You end up getting you're given the choice, either go to jail or join the army. So he ends up joining the army, and you take part in World War II, and you're a paratrooper, and that's basically where the game actually kicks in.
That's actually pretty
Yeah.
cool too, because typically like games tend to shy away from like eras like World War II and Vietnam, unless they're doing like a World War II or Vietnam game. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
nice thing that they took this in an era that largely is for like first person shooters of killing the Nazis, and instead said, hey, let's make this Mafia
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, it is pretty neat. And I thought it was also cool, too, because Vito is technically going home. Because, I mean, he emigrated to the U.S. from Sicily when he was only 3 years old.
And he gets sent back.
And then he gets sent back, but, now he's in the U.S. Armed Forces and all of that. But at least he's getting back, getting to go back to see the motherland,
But yeah, I mean, after being there for about a year and a half or so, he ends up getting injured and sent back home. So he didn't get to spend too much time there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Uh,
Not a lot
I
of
hope he had the
sightseeing.
food there, because I know for a fact from personal experience, Sicily has some bomb ass food.
And then he gets sent back to, the U.S.
Yeah.
Enjoy your Happy Meal.
Oh God! And then, after he gets home, he gets counterfeit discharge papers. So he's right back off to, right back down that path that's got him sent into the military to begin with, basically.
Yeah.
But he ends up hooking back up with Joe and ends up basically trying to make money because he finds out that his dad left his mom and sister in debt. Bastards.
Yeah. Well,
It's like Bane.
there's got to be some motivation for him to get into the mob, right?
Yeah, I guess you got to get the rest of your family out of debt. But
I mean,
you
he
end
could
up
have gotten a regular job and done it that way, but that's just no fun. You can't make a
Why would
game
you-
out of that.
There you go, McDonald's, the game.
Oh,
Flipping
get to flip
burgers for
burgers.
30 hours. Yeah.
that's
gonna-
unfortunate.
Yeah,
Does
but then
it
you
come
get
with one of those smell things to where you can like actually smell what you're doing too?
It's a VR game with a smell mask.
Oh,
There you
awesome!
go.
That is a thing, though. I mean,
It is.
for South Park Fractured Butthole, right? There was like a
something
smell vision, whatever the hell, so you can smell the farts that are done in game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
No thanks.
I'll just smell my own farts. God damn it!
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
need to pay all that extra money.
Sound like the old man. I'm just gonna smell my own farts.
Have him pull your finger first.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, Vito ends up getting introduced to Henry Tomasino, who is a made man for the Mafia. And he ends up finding a life of crime and gets arrested for illegally distributing ration stamps.
He's just no good at this crime stuff, is he?
He sucks. He sucks. But you get 10 years in jail, and during that, you fall in with Leo Galante, who's a consigliere for another mob boss. Luckily, mob connections gets you released 4 years earlier. Go figure.
Who'd have thought?
You start
Oh,
off
yeah,
getting, you start off the story getting fucking illegal discharge or counterfeit discharge papers. Now you get out of jail 4 years early.
Ah, the good old days.
Yeah. It's always good to have friends in high places or very, very low ones,
I'll say very low places for this.
Yeah.
But you end up working for Carlo Falcone, and you start doing little odd jobs for him. And eventually, after playing through and just doing little bits of things for him, you end up becoming a made man in that family.
Oh, he made it, finally.
Yeah.
Good
And,
for Vito.
Yeah. Basically, your largest job ends up you have to go assassinate Clemente, who apparently ordered the kidnapping of Falcone's accountant. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Get your revenge. He killed my accountant.
well, you figure though, out of anybody, you at least grab the person who's dealing with all their finances. That's the best way to go about it.
This is
Is that-
true. And back then
and
they were
how-
still using an abacus.
Little adding
Yeah.
machine, you got the guy fucking typing, just pulling the little thing every time.
Yeah. And one thing that struck me too is how quick Vito turns his back on people that he's kind of got in with, He gets out of jail, he goes to Joe, then he gets introduced to Henry, who is working under Clemente, gets busted for illegally distributing ration stamps, goes to jail, hooks up with Galante, who is working under Frank Vinci, and then you get out of jail thanks to the ties that you have with Galante. Then you start working for Falcone. He's just going from mob boss to mob boss, and
It's kind of a hooker.
yeah.
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 But
Back
would
to
you
that
want a
hooker
guy
thing.
like that on your team? I
You
wouldn't-
worked
I,
for
wou-
them.
I wouldn't
you
trust
worked
him.
for them. You worked for them. What the fuck?
Yeah, but he's moving his way up the ladder. I mean,
Yeah, I
isn't that
guess.
what we all do?
Fine, you win. Okay.
That's fair.
Sorry to
But-
kind of knock you off course there, DC.
Yeah. But anyways, you Shit.
Right
Anyways,
there.
Joe's friend and wannabe gangster, Marty Santorelli, um, you basically, who was the getaway driver for the job that you were going to do, you end up being killed by Clemente, and then Clemente gets killed after being shot multiple times by Joe.
Serves him right, fucking Clemente.
Yeah, whack that guy.
Everyone's being whacked off right now.
Oh yeah.
Good times had by all. But then Vito gets approached by Henry, who now wants to work for Falcone because Clemente's gone, and behest to Falcone, Henry's sent to go murder Galante. But
Jesus Christ.
Vito ends up, it's confusing as hell. Vito ends up saving his friend by basically convincing Henry to let Galante just disappear, quote unquote.
Yeah. Get the hell out of town.
Yeah, go to Florida.
Yeah, anywhere but here.
Anywhere but here. And then, Vito ends up getting home, goes back home after getting Galante out of town, wherever the hell he ends up going, and finds his sister on the front porch crying because her husband was abusing her.
What a bastard.
Right?
Piece of garbage.
Vito doesn't take his shit, so he basically beats him up and threatens to kill him. But his sister was kind of mortified by what he did, and she disowns him as her brother.
Does that make sense? I get it. She was a little taken aback because he beat the shit out of her husband, but I mean,
yeah, but what did she expect him to do? She knew his life.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, your brother. He's gonna stick up for you. He beat the shit out of him because he beat you, but now you're gonna disown your brother for sticking up for you?
Right. I mean,
I don't know. It's a video game.
It's
real life.
You mean this isn't real life?
No.
Shit. After all the time, after she disowned him, the Irish mob who feuded with Galante in prison burns Vito's house down, because Vito killed one of their high-ranking members in prison.
Did they use like Molotov cocktails with like Jameson bottles?
I'd be disappointed if they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way to make a Molotov is with Jameson bottles.
Such a waste of liquor.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But now Vito's kind of broke. He ends up living in Marty's old apartment, and Henry kind of helps him out and gets him and Joe involved in the drug trade.
Do you think is there a montage? Because I love them.
It needs to be backed by some, enthralling music too.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear montage, I think of Team America, World Police. That montage is epic. What a good friend. Henry gets him involved in drugs. That's such a good friend.
You know what? He's bouncing around of crimes. I mean,
he's going from whacking people off to doing drugs.
Testing the waters, see which one he likes the best.
Damn straight.
I guess Falcone was also involved in the drug trade, and as any mob boss would want a big cut of the profits if he found out what the hell they're doing. Which, do you blame him? They're kind of on his fucking turf. So hey,
get off my turf.
Yeah.
Is it Astro?
Maybe.
Oh.
And then, they are successful, but now we get the triads involved because they find out Henry's a federal informant.
Oh, what
spoiler alert!
Holy shit!
Yeah, and this
is like late '90s Attitude Era wrestling. Good lord, this is convoluted.
It gets dark here though because they end up killing him in the middle of the park in broad daylight.
Wow. They got some balls on them.
They use Tommy guns.
Hopefully, I mean, why not? But see, the thing was though, Vito and Joe didn't know that he was a federal informant, so all they saw was their buddy getting killed, and then they shot up a Chinatown restaurant, killing the guy who sold them the drugs in the first place.
I'm not sad that they like shot up a restaurant. I'm sad that they shot up a Chinese restaurant because they are delightful.
Yeah, but another one will sprout up.
Well, it was just a restaurant in Chinatown.
Oh, so I guess I was just assuming there. My bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to continue some of the story.
Sure. Looks like Vito and Joe realized that they are in some serious trouble with Henry dead and being ousted as an informant. They're soon scrutinized by Falcone for vouching for a quote-unquote rat. The gunfight in Chinatown agitates the triad. It's kind of cliche, but whatever. We're now preparing for war with Falcone having taken his cut. My cat is about to pounce, I think. Try it. Made me really nervous. Let's see. The gunfight in Chinatown agitated the triads. Well, I mean, of course it would. Who are now preparing for war with Falcone having taken his cut, and the triads stealing whatever money left from Henry. Vito and Joe must find a way to repay the $55,000 loan they took from the Jewish loan shark.
They made him a Jewish loan shark.
Oh, God.
Do you think a Jewish person would be a loan shark? I mean, they would never be able to let go of that money, right?
Well,
you know
actually,
what?
like you read a lot of books.
That was a bit racist of me. I do apologize.
Well, a lot of the books I read historically, a lot of the Jewish guys, they ran like bookies, and they were pretty nasty if you lost a bet with them and everything. So, this is somewhat
authentic,
pretty accurate.
Yeah, accurate at least. That's cool. All right.
They managed to re-earn enough money first. They murdered former mob boss Tommy Angelo, who turned Pentito, I think that word is, on his boss Ennio Salieri.
I'm intrigued.
Yes.
Pentito is an Italian term. He who has repented is what it means.
Very nice.
Just in
general,
I guess
he ratted on his boss.
You dirty rat.
Ennio's.
Like,
yeah,
the money that they took, for that time, especially for that time, that time period, that's a shitload of money that they
55 grand. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, let me type this into my calculator really quick, adjusting for inflation. It was $5,000 billion. I really don't know. I'm making that up.
But I mean, you figure though, 55,000, even nowadays, is a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Just want to put a random disclaimer out there. Things that Drake Dangerson says as fact are oftentimes just his speculation and or just his crazy mind.
I have a fake fake information voice and a real information voice. You can see what's what. But like the 55,000 back then was a decent amount of money. You can buy a house and a car with that money. At least during that time, because they were just, that era, they were just coming out of the Great Recession or the Great Depression, and they said they still had ration stamps, which assume that people get their food that way, and that's why he was put in jail for selling those things, because a lot of people were getting food that they shouldn't be. But whatever, moving on.
Cheating the system, like nothing has changed.
Oh yeah, crimes are the same, just different things.
Fun fact, I actually just did put it in a calculator. So from say 1950, $55,000 in the 1950s, it has the same buying power as about $562,000 right now.
House and a car.
That's a shit ton of money. Anywho,
Yeah,
Excuse me.
let's see how many more names I can mess up here.
All right, let's go for it.
Yeah, Vito learns his father was drowned at the docks on the orders of his boss, Derek Papalardo.
Hey, you got it.
Vinci's co I don't want Copori Capo regime. That's
Yeah.
how I'm gonna say it.
go with it.
Yeah, whom Vito's mother urged her son to work with earlier in the story. Vito kills Derek, and his men then takes Derek's retirement money. Swag.
Oh god.
Give me your social security. Vito daringly surrenders himself to Vinci in hopes that he will be able to find Joe. He does, and together they escape, shooting up the construction site they were being held at. While paying Bruno his money back, Vito discovers Bruno is the very same loan shark who had loaned his deceased father so much money. And then they
Jesus
learned a lot of
Christ.
things over a milkshake. Good
And a
God
burger.
story.
Yeah.
The incident in Chinatown has caused great tension between Falcone and Vinci. I'm gonna be honest here. I'm having a hard time with the Italian names. I hope they don't have any Chinese names because I'm gonna royally screw them up. As each believes the other is responsible with the incidents at the docks and the construction site furthering problems between the two families, Galante returns to Empire Bay, negotiating a deal with Vinci and the Triads that they spare Vito's life if he kills Falcone.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Conversely, Falcone offers Joe the position of Copa regime.
Yeah, that's the leader of a team of a crew in the mafia.
It's a team lead. Where's his manager? But Joe betrays Falcone. Big surprise there.
Right.
Not wanting to kill his lifelong friend.
Yeah.
They succeed in killing Falcone and are picked up by Vinci's men to celebrate. But when Joe's escort makes an unexpected turn, Joe is informed by Galante that the deal didn't cover Joe. Helpless, Vito watches sadly as Joe is driven away to whatever fate awaits him in exchange for their actions, and the game concludes with a panoramic view of Empire Bay. And then there's a mid-credit scene where a DeLorean comes out of nowhere and the whole story becomes null and void.
That's kind of a shitty way to end the game, though. You end
Those
up
fucking DeLoreans.
You're standing there, you just watch as your buddy who ended up, risking himself for you gets driven away to God knows what.
My question is, why doesn't Vito just fucking whack him and keep Joe alive?
Maybe the guy, they were taking him to a nice steak dinner. More realistically, they were probably taking him to New Jersey, which I feel bad for him.
You stay over there now.
Christ on a cracker.
Oh God.
I can appreciate a sad ending. A lot of games don't do it. You always get the princess and everything, but I can dig a sad ending.
If it's warranted and if it goes with the story, I can get behind it.
And I mean, they are in the mafia, so I mean, many times they make deals that only work for one of two people that are involved.
Okay.
So, I mean, it kind of makes sense that it went that way, but still, aw.
Although this story
Poor
was just all
Vito.
kinds of just.
It's like, I guess a full campaign played like at a normal pace will be about 12 hours. This is too much fucking story for a 12-hour game.
They think to get too many mob bosses involved and shit.
Yeah,
I feel
just too many like mob bosses and everything. Generally, like a lot of these games, it's a 3-tiered system where you meet like underboss, mid boss, and then big boss. This game was like boss, little boss, junior boss, senior boss, boss the fourth, boss secondly, and Carmine Falcone.
Don't forget about team leader. Can't forget about the team.
Oh yeah,
leaders.
team leader and manager of the mafia.
Yes.
It's way too much, and they could have easily not necessarily cut out, but instead of even having you hopping between this boss to this boss, they could have focused on like one or two families instead of
Every single family.
in such in a small. And the thing is too, it's for one city, that's an awful lot of, because usually in a lot of the cities you might have one or two.
Yeah.
This has like 5.
You know, if they
Like-
did something that like similar to like San Andreas, where you had like, you started in Los Santos, and then you went to like Los Ventura, whatever the Vegas place was, and then the San Francisco place. If they had
Yeah.
had like the mob bosses in like different, different cities and everything, that would have made a little bit more sense. But having them like this gang warfare, of, like having 20 mob bosses going against each other, it's like it's a video game. I get it. So, but yeah, it's a little much.
But I mean, they made it.
Yeah.
I mean, the map itself too. Because I looked into that just now. The map itself is only 4 square miles.
Yeah, see,
That's
there's not
a
even that
lot.
much space.
That's
Yeah.
a lot in a 4-mile radius. I mean,
It's probably
Yeah.
why there were so many fucks in the game. He put in
Yes.
all the mob bosses in a 4-mile wide area.
I mean, I'm just looking at the picture of the map right now, and there's not much here. There's like the main city, a lot of grass, and then like outskirts of additional shit on the map. That's it.
You said skirts. Are we talking about the Playboys again?
Maybe we are.
No, God.
I don't remember though, to be honest. I don't actually, from playing it though, like I really don't remember. I don't remember if you could actually like zoom in, like not zoom in on the covers, but like, or if it was like, because most games, the collectibles, you never really get to see them. Like Uncharted's a different one where when you pick up the collectibles, you can actually like look at them and actually see the detail on them.
Yeah.
I don't know if like with the covers, if you were actually able to like look at them, or if it was just like, oh, you picked one up.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Collect 49 more.
Yeah,
You picked one
could.
up. Now, if you want to see the cover, go to our website.
This isn't Destiny.
To read it, go to this website.
Yeah. Oh my god. I'll never live
but,
that
like,
down.
Nope. But like, I remember playing the game a little bit, but to be honest, nothing fucking sticks out with this game. The story, as we just established, is convoluted as hell. Like there's really and the characters aren't. There's no real vibrant characters that really stick out either. I mean, granted, there's enough characters in the game, but I think it's almost gets flooded with 55 different characters. You can't really latch on to one or two that really can grab you.
Yeah.
Gameplay wise, they were good. It played well from what I remember, but that's nothing really. Like I have certain games that still moments stick out in my head from this.
Also, if you're going to make something similar to, let's say, Grand Theft something, and and if your game is going to have similar mechanics, you're going to have to go above and beyond it to make your mechanics better and make them memorable. Which doesn't seem to have happened in this game. Outside of the cover system, which like I said earlier, was really good. It gives you stealth tactics. You can do things like that, which you don't really do in Grand Theft Auto. But I don't think that's enough.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, the other thing you got to think of though too is you're looking at it's a small studio compared to Rockstar. So I mean, for what they were able to put out, I mean, it's a hell of a game for looking at it that way. But unfortunately, you're going up against one of the giants in the freaking industry, more or less, by putting out a game so similar to what they do.
I'm just saying, if you're going to step to the king, you best step correct.
Otherwise, you're gonna get squashed like the little cockroach that you are.
A cockroach.
Yeah, it is a shame that that the game doesn't really stick out too much. I mean, as we were going over the story, I mean, I started to remember bits and pieces because I did play a bit of the game. Like I remember going to meet Falcone and stuff like that. But the biggest thing that really sticks out is the Playboy covers. And yes, DC, you could go into your inventory screen and actually check all the ones that you collected. So yeah, you
Ooh.
could go and view them in game.
Could you
Which is
zoom
why
in?
I think I don't remember that much, but I do recall being able to go through and see every magazine cover that you had collected. So I mean that was kind of cool, I guess. I mean, if you're looking for something more adult in your video games, you could go that route. But yeah, I mean, the gunplay was pretty good from what I remember. Like Drake brought up a couple of times, the cover system was really great because you could hide behind walls instead of, standing behind it and getting shot anyway. But that's about it. I don't remember much else. Like, I don't remember any of the missions that stick out to me the most, which, games like GTA, I mean, you do think of those missions. Like, oh my God, remember when you did that? And yeah, how did you do it? Well, I went and did it this way. I don't know. I played the game. I know I played it. I remember certain bits and pieces of it, but I don't remember the missions, Like, it is what it
McDonald's
is.
hamburger.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just
They should have just called it Grand Theft Mafia and had Rockstar do it.
There we go.
would have been better.
From what I understand, Mafia 3 was a little bit better, but still had its problems too.
Still that problem.
Yeah.
Especially like following a game like Grand Theft Auto or Grand Theft Auto 5, which people still
it's so
play
good.
a
People
lot.
still buy that game. Like,
Yeah, they had a ridiculous amount of people buy it like last year. I don't know that I don't have the numbers on me, but yeah, a ton of people bought it. Like,
And it's been out for a long time too, and people are
it's
still
been
just
out
buying it for the first
super
time.
long.
oh, but even like I know, like with Mafia 3, a couple people that I know that did play it kind of said that it played really well, but it got very repetitive. Where it was like, all right, you go to this new area, do this, take over this, done. Go to the
Yeah.
next area, do the same thing, and
Yeah.
It's set in New Orleans, right?
New
The
Orleans.
third one,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it was set in New Orleans, and it just and that was the biggest problem that I heard about it was like it played well, it looked great, but it's just very same old, and
Not a lot of substance there.
right. And actually, yeah, like with GTA 5, for instance, that's been out since technically 2013 or 2014.
Yeah.
And it's still selling a lot.
Yeah.
People are on GTA Online all the time,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I think is keeping the game alive, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I mean, it's the future of gaming. You
Yeah.
release a game and then people keep playing it because you keep supporting it.
True.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Who'd have thunk it?
Put out content, people will continue to play your games. Anyway, did you have? Yeah. Did you have any opportunity to play it at all, Drake?
I did not.
Mafia? No.
Yeah, it's probably it's a rough time. I was riding the rails of America, drifting from town to town with my guitar. No, I was probably deployed. Usually, yeah, the problem with like deploying and like being a gamer is you get a pretty large backlog of of games. So like this games just kind of fall off your list. So you take the ones that you really want to play, even if they're like shitty games. But you either the ones you want to play or the ones that were really game of the year type of things. So yeah, I wouldn't be playing this.
Fair
Not
enough.
many people did.
Yeah.
Unfortunate for the company, but put out a more quality product, people will buy it.
Hey, there you go. You, sir, are the CEO.
But yeah, we've touched on the issues and the problems in the game, but some of the ones that stuck out the most were the controversy. Oh my God, there's a Mafia game where you shoot a bunch of people and kill them. Who knew there'd be controversy? But one of the ones that stuck out to me was the fact that the PS3 version had missing graphical details, and that was because they were having some issues with the frame rate. Which, you know, at the top of the show, you know, I said it was a good thing that they dropped the PS2 and the Xbox that they wanted
Yeah.
to, you know, launch it on as well, because they were already having issues with the consoles that were available to them, you know, with the PS3 and the 360.
I
Excuse me,
wonder
but
though,
uh,
if that has to do with, since the PS3 was so different than the other consoles. I'm assuming that would be because of
it
their
could have
own
been the
proprietary,
cell,
cell
yeah,
processor.
the cell processor, the 7 cores, or whatever the fuck it had. Yeah, it was a nightmare to develop it for at the time. You know,
Yeah.
as it got older and people kind of picked up on how to program certain things, games did get better on the PS3, but um, you know,
Yeah, it was a nightmare to build games for the PS3.
yeah, terrible. I
Yeah.
don't know why Sony went that route. They were trying to differentiate themselves from other, you know, from Microsoft and Nintendo. Maybe trying to make the most powerful console that they could, and they thought that was the right way to do it. Perhaps. I mean, I just really don't know.
You probably shouldn't
Um,
be having frame rate issues for a system that was $600.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was another thing too. The price point on the PS3 was freaking astronomical. It was insane.
Yeah.
I didn't
But
get mine until it was down to like 300, I think it was.
so like a year later,
Pretty much.
the price went down pretty quick on that console. But I mean, somebody in the European Parliament thought the game was so bad that they wanted to kind of protest it. Miss Sonia Alfano, she was actually calling for the and families of mafia victims as well. Actually, we're calling for the game to be banned over in Europe, mainly because Sonia's father was murdered by the mafia back in 2003.
Was there opera music being played in the
but-
background when he was murdered?
It
Maybe.
was in slow motion too.
Maybe it was 2003, so I don't know if there was opera. It could have been some kind of soft rock, maybe.
Some
I don't know.
Nickelback?
Yeah, Nickelback. There you go.
Oof.
You know, Take-Two's response I think was perfect, actually, because it's true. I mean, the depictions in the game weren't all that different from films that had already been out for quite some time, like The Godfather. You know, so because it's in a video game form,
Yeah.
you want my game
You're gonna
to be
censor?
banned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but anyway,
That's because you're
um,
doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one
I-
biggest thing I think is bullcrap that everybody will blame. They'll jump right on blaming video games or whatever for this and that, and it's like there's shit 10 times worse in movies, and you're taking your kids to see that.
yeah, Rockstar
And
went through a heap of shit.
Oh yeah. They're constantly going through a heap of shit though.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I mean,
Well,
shit.
they're
when
always
I went
pushing the envelope though, as far as what they let gamers do in their games too. So it's to be
It's
expected, I
artistic
guess.
license, man.
Yeah,
But then you don't go let your 12 or 13-year-old kid. You don't go buy it for him either.
this is very true.
The parents are
Just
right.
don't buy it. Don't let them play it.
Right. Like the parents are ready to jump on the game company for making it. It's like, well, you didn't have to go buy it for your kid.
Yeah.
Clearly, it says it's rated whatever the hell it is. So why the hell is your goddamn little bastard kid playing this game?
This game I certainly
this
hope
game-
was rated mature.
I bought this game Dicks and Tits and I wasn't expecting it. My 8-year-old saw titties and dicks. Well, that's the name of the game, so if they name the game fucking Grand Theft Auto, you should already assume that it's gonna have crime in it.
No.
Yeah.
Crime.
You know, common sense isn't all that common, so
Yeah.
No.
you can't really expect people to think that way, unfortunately.
I mean,
But-
shit. When I was even as far as going the movie route, when I went to go see actually I went to go see Kick-Ass in theaters, and
Okay.
the amount of people that brought their little kids to see that movie
Oh yeah.
was
They thought
fucking
it was a superhero
astronomical.
movie.
Yeah,
Oops.
it was. Oh my god! I sat there and was just like looking around. Actually, even Deadpool, when that came out, I saw a lot of people bringing their 10 and 12-year-old kids to that. I'm like, Nope.
Dude, in the marketing, they told parents not to bring their kids to the movie because it was not going to be appropriate for them.
Yeah. Wow.
And they still do. But then
People
they're
just
gonna
don't
sit
give a
there
shit.
and they're gonna sit. But then they're the first ones to go blame, and bitch about the movie. And it's like, well,
Mm.
clearly you saw what was gonna be in it.
Well, did Deadpool have magicians in it?
Well, kind of. He made a lot of heads disappear.
Well, evidently Mafia 2 had some magicians in it as well because it just disappeared off of Steam for about 10 months. Just out of nowhere.
Gone missing in the Steam.
Yeah. I mean, 2K never actually explained why Mafia 2 was taken off of the marketplace either in the first place. But, fans of the series speculated that the music licensing costs were the reason why 2K pulled the title off of the store because they just couldn't continue to pay for the music that was used in the game. But
Makes sense.
Yeah.
yeah. With a game that didn't really sell all that well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, that licensing stuff. Whoops.
It gets expensive quick.
Oh yeah. Especially when you're gonna have Nickelback on your soundtrack.
That should be free.
Well, they're always looking for their Nickelback though.
Hey. Ding.
Whoa, but
But I mean, it just. I'm actually just looking here really quick at the soundtrack, and there's a lot of songs on the soundtrack. Just
I mean, how much money could it cost to have songs from the 40s on your game though? Like, that's like
40s
old
not
property.
so much, but I would say more of like the 50s music though.
Yeah. And a lot of those people, they're not alive, but they still have estates that basically take care of the funding and divvy it out to the family members.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean,
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, looking at the thing, and there's a pretty good amount of songs on there too. So I mean, you figure that's a lot of money. Aside from like the 40s, big band music, the actual just licensed artists, that's pretty.
I wonder how that goes. The licensing for music in games, like, is it every time that a copy of the game is purchased, they have to pay whoever's music it was a certain amount of whatever they got for the game? I mean, they can't just base it off of every time the song is played in the game that they get paid for it.
No, it's every time a game's sold.
Every time a game's sold, they get a fraction of the money.
Yeah, they get a percentage.
Okay. That makes sense. So I guess that maybe at that point, 2K was just like, if we sell any more copies of this game, we're never going to be able to get Mafia 3 out the door. So let's just pull this off the store shelves, so to speak, and just don't tell anybody about it.
Just it was gone for that 10 months, and then it came back right around when Mafia 3 was announced, so people could play the second one on Steam right before the third one came out.
So several years in between.
Yeah,
it was just gone.
Yep.
But I mean, it's a good way to make back a little bit of that money too. Get some of the hype rolling for the next one. Here's this one. Play it.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, I mean, as we've kind of bashed this game the entire time, so obviously it wasn't like Game of the Year worthy or anything like that. But it did actually have, I guess, a record, so to speak, for the most amount of F-bombs that were to be dropped in a 12-hour playthrough. Right? Did I read that correctly?
Yep.
2K.
397 fucks.
That's awesome. Do you think, like, if you're like in the game and you're standing behind somebody that's ordering like a sandwich, they're like, yeah, put it on fucking Italian with some fucking mayonnaise and maybe some fucking basil, fucking turkey, fucking American cheese, fuck.
Well, I mean, you figure though, I mean, that equate, in that 12-hour period, in that 12-hour playthrough, as it says, looks like here, that's 33 fucks per hours, or one every 2 minutes.
There we go.
Fuck.
Fuck.
Oh, frick.
You broke it. Get out.
Ah.
I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I guess in that for that time period, I mean, it makes you wonder. Like, do you think that was really? I wonder, like, how noticeable it actually was. You know what I mean?
What? How many times they said "fuck" in the game?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's noticeable.
Yeah, I'm sure it was pretty noticeable. It was 390, almost 400 fucks in 12 hours.
Hey, pour some fucking gas in my fucking gas tank.
What did it average out to be? 33 per hour?
33 per hour, or
so every 2 minutes, the word "fuck" is being used in the game. Yeah, I would think you would notice it after a while.
Like, how? I almost feel like that would take you out of the game. Like, maybe it's just me, but like if I'm sitting here and it's like that's all you're hearing, it's like, really?
Yeah. It's like they basically modeled the game after the family drunk. You know, the Uncle Benny who can't stop saying the word "fuck" it at every event.
At the family gathering.
Uncle Benny, this is my grandfather's funeral. Could you stop saying "fuck" every other word?
No.
Fuck no.
Fuck no.
Perfect.
But I mean, that being said, though, I mean, granted, we don't have any real fond memories, but it got decently reviewed.
Mediocre. You're being too freaking nice. Come on.
It got a 74.
It's a Wonder Bread.
I mean, Metacritic's it's sitting at a 74 for the Xbox version, and when that review came out, though, too, I took notice that they didn't now they do reviews for all three, like it's not whatever platforms or not. Whereas at that time, they only did it for one, apparently, because there were no reviews up for the other two versions. But I did just in general, I saw the like PS3 and the other ones did get rated at other places lower than the Xbox version, which, I mean, I guess with stuff being cut from the PS3 one due to frame rate things, that could put a damper on it, potentially.
Yeah, for sure.
IGN
the game is less than its counterparts. I mean,
right.
It's gonna have some sort of an effect on the review, I'm sure.
I mean, the biggest thing that I did, here across the board with the reviews really was like, IGN gave it a 7, and again, they noted on the voice acting, exceptional voice acting, and the cutscenes were great, but everything else was kind of just average at best.
Yeah.
Which I could agree. I mean, nothing really stands out. But then Game Informer gave it a 9. Again, though, they touched on that the voice acting was great, but they also said that that it was a very compelling game, which,
compelling.
I'll agree to disagree on that one. The cinematics were good. It scratched that itch if you had one for old mobster movies.
Yeah, I would just watch Goodfellas.
And it would be, there would be significantly less fuck.
Yeah.
And it's, you're going to be still less than 12 hours on a playthrough. I mean, and you also had low replayability, which I could see on a game like that because...
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about, like, earlier, we're talking about, like, the actual scale of the game and everything. The 4x4 square miles. And the game, for what it was, looked great. I mean, I'm not going to say it was like a terrible looking game. The game looked great because of the small scale of what they did there.
Yeah.
I'm sure they wanted to do like a larger scale thing, but you'd have it like a very ugly game. They wanted it to be as nice as possible.
Which, that's something that does get lost nowadays. I mean, you look at a lot of your games and they're huge. Like, ridiculously huge, and as you get certain parts of the game, the cutscenes are always going to look beautiful, but when you're actually playing, there, look at all the shit that they just fixed with Mass Effect. Oops.
And it still has its fucking problems.
Yes, we're not going to get into that right now, but
that's for another podcast.
That's for another episode. But everybody, all the game companies now are just trying to make as large of a game as possible, and
Yeah.
I'd rather play the smaller, say 10 or 12-hour games and be able to just, really enjoy the hell out of the nice story, comes with a nice end, versus I'm going to play this game for 50 hours just to try to get through the whole thing.
Yeah.
If it's warranted. I mean, a lot of, just playing through Horizon recently.
Oh, so good.
I still have to finish it. Shush, don't say anything.
All I'm going to say is the
I'm
story. No, I mean, it ran me about 45, 50 hours, I think, or so.
Yeah.
And it was worth all 45, 50 hours.
Yeah. I think out of like that same time, I think like they have 5 hours of story in there is some of the most amazing storytelling I've ever ran into.
Nice.
But I mean, that game is on a pretty big scale, and everything just kind of works. But you play other larger scale games, and you feel like you're kind of just, there's a lot of empty filler space, like to travel from here to here. I'd rather have the maps condensed, like it's a 4x4 area. Yeah, it's not huge, but to get from one side of the city to the other, it'll take you a couple minutes, if that, as opposed to, all right, 15 minutes later, I'm still driving God knows where. Like
You're driving God knows where, and you have like 3.5 pages full of like quests.
Looking at Final Fantasy 15 with their quote unquote fast travel system.
Yeah.
All right, we can either, you can have this person drive you to the next place. They're going to take you like 8 minutes to get there because you're going God knows where. So I mean, I don't know. I kind of miss personally like the games that are a little bit more linear. Like I kind of miss, because everything now is open world.
Mm-hmm.
I think I found out why Game Informer rated it so high.
How much money did they get?
Well, not that, but I researched what games came out in August of 2010, and there weren't really that many good ones.
Yeah. Fair enough.
There was Scott Pilgrim versus the World. There was a Madden game.
That game's a lot of fun.
There was Monday Night Combat Toy Story Collector's Edition. There was Kane and Lynch 2, The Dog Days, and then Lara Croft and the Guardian of the Light, and then Mafia 2 came out on the same day as Shank and NHL 2K11. So.
Oh god, that's when 2K was still making their fucking sports games.
Yeah.
Although I do miss the 2K sports games that I had back in the day. They were good.
The NFL games were amazing.
They were. I had all, actually, on my Dreamcast, I had all of them. They were good. And yeah, by the way, that Scott Pilgrim game was fucking awesome. So
yeah,
a lot of fun. But I mean, anybody else have anything they want to add to Mafia 2 and its thrilling, compelling story or anything?
It's a fucking mediocre fucking game.
Great Playboy covers.
Yeah, but you can find those for free now on the internet. So.
Yeah, of course.
And they move.
Ooh.
You don't need to stare at pictures now. Just use the internet. There's plenty of other, much better things out there.
Yeah, this is very true.
But
not that we condone that sort of thing here on GameCast Continuum. But you have your own free will. Do with it what you want.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I mean, that's going to do it for this week, I believe. Thanks for anybody tuning in live or listening on Podbean or iTunes.
Yeah, COD Killer 5565 jumped in. He's in the chat right now on the stream. Thank you so much for watching, buddy.
Be sure to give us a review and feel free to send any feedback to us over at GamecastContinuum@gmail.com. And special thanks to our guest host this week, Mr. Drake Dangerson. Thanks for along for the ride.
Yes, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It was a lot of fun.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, of course.
And thanks again, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for another great episode of GameCast Continuum.
Thanks for watching, listening. Love you guys.